Hey, welcome to another episode of Tree Talk. Today, Dave Apsley is going to be talking about a possible threat to the oak forest here in southern Ohio and in our area, sudden oak death. So stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Tree Talk. We're talking with Dave Apsley. He's a natural resource specialist and works with the Ohio State University Extension. And he's going to be talking about something that I just found out about, a sudden oak death.
Yes.
And that's a possible problem.
Yeah. It sounds really scary. We don't want to alarm people, but there is a slight potential that this could be a problem in Ohio. So I just wanted to kind of give people a little background. And essentially what happened is back in May, the state of Indiana found some plants that were purchased at local Walmart and Rural King stores. And they had this disease called sudden oak death. And it's actually a Phytophthora. It's a water mold disease that can move in the soil column, and it's never been known to be established in Ohio or any eastern states as far as that goes, but there is a slight potential that it could happen. So essentially what happened, some plants from a nursery out west got shipped to multiple states in the east. I think it was 17 total states, and Ohio is one of the states. And these plants are mostly rhododendrons. There are a few lilac plants that were in that mix. And those plants are a good chance they could have this disease called Phytophthora, and it's the disease that causes sudden oak death. So what happens, there's a lot of different understory plants that can harbor or carry this disease. And if they get established in the understory of our oak forest, then potentially that disease could spread to the forest in the area. Again, this disease has caused some pretty serious problems in the west and mainly in coastal areas of California and Oregon. And we don't even know that it can get established here or survive here. But there are quarantines, and we're trying to prevent that possibility. So we found a little more information out a little bit more recently. Department of Ag put out the Ohio Department of Agriculture, in association with APHIS, the Agriculture Plant Health Inspection Service, it's a federal agency, found out that we in Ohio received about 1,600 of these potentially infested plants. These plants were distributed to like 150 Walmart stores and Rural Kings in Ohio. And so what ODA did back in July is they recommended that if you purchase one of these plants between March 1st and June 1st, that we highly recommend that you report that to ODA, and we'll talk about how to do the reporting, and that you dig up this plant and destroy it. And we'll spend a little time talking about how to destroy the plants as well. So just want to make people aware that these plants did get out and about. Some got recalled, some didn't make it out to customers, but a fair number of those plants did get out to the public, and we want to take every precaution to try to make sure that we don't have this problem with sudden oak death disease.
So just out of curiosity, how do I know that I have potential sudden oak?
So the only way you could be exposed that we know of is that you would have purchased one of these rhododendron or lilac plants from Walmart or Rural King between that time frame. So if you didn't purchase plants during that time frame that meet that description, we've since found, I think they should have had a tag that says Park Hill Nurseries. So if you didn't purchase a rhododendron or lilac during that time frame, you have nothing to worry about.
Okay.
If you did, we've got some recommendations, and we want you to take some precautions.
And so if I suspect or if I feel that I have contributed to this, who should I contact?
So right now, probably the best thing to do, we're working on a local effort, and soon, in the next week or so, we're going to have local press releases going out, and we're focusing mainly in southeastern Ohio. The main reason we're focusing focusing there is because that's where the highest potential risk would be. We've actually got a risk map that we're going to pop up here in a second. So I know the state boundary is a little tough to see, but the highest risk areas in the east are probably that Appalachian mountain chain, and I think there's a couple reasons why that's our highest risk area. This map is a little dated. It's a map produced by Cook and Smith back in 2012 in a Forest Service publication. But the red areas, the highest risk areas, are probably associated with the Appalachian Mountains, and that's where a lot of rhododendrons and other plants that are in the understory likely occur. It also is the area that has the highest humidities and the similarities to the areas where it's been a problem in the west. But if you look at the map, you'll see a couple moderate to high areas that bump almost into the river in Ohio. So we're not a super high risk area, but if you think about Ohio and where our forests are, and where our oak-dominated forests are with these understory plants, we're looking at the southeast, more likely to be a problem than anywhere else in the state. So in a 17-county area that we're focusing on in southeast Ohio, we're trying to ramp up our efforts a little bit. So eventually, those 17-county areas, we're talking essentially from Adams County up to about Monroe County, down along the river, and a couple tiers of counties up. We're going to identify, and we're in the process of identifying a local point of contact. And that person will be either in the local soil and water office, the local extension office, and then those folks will be there to help you take your call, help you through the process. And if you need help removing and destroying the plant, we're actually going to have some people that can possibly come out and help you dig the plant and destroy it properly. So in the meantime, until we get that, we're welcome, and we'll have Sarah put up my contact later, but you can either email me at Apsley, APSLEY.1@osu.edu, or you can call me at 740-710-3009. That's 740-710-3009. We'll have that contact information for you. You get a hold of me, and then I'll hook you up with the person in your county that received that, or that can help you.
Dave, this is I think it's very vigilant of you, because oftentimes we're hit with some major disasters in the forest area, and sometimes it's too late. And so let's hope that this sudden oak death really doesn't happen.
Yeah, and we don't think it's a real high possibility, but we also have a lot to lose in our forest products industry.
You're absolutely right.
And we do know that almost every Walmart and Rural King in this part of the state did receive some of this potentially infected plant material. And so if you did receive that material, a couple things we want you to do. One, you can call me, and once we get that local contact, you can call there and they'll help you. But the Ohio Department of Agriculture has a web page where you can actually report. So we'll get Sarah to pop up that web page, and we'll put the web link on the site as well. And there at the top, you'll see a Submit a Report tab.
Yes.
And they're going to ask you, when did you buy the plant? Where did you buy the plant? Where's the plant located? So what we're trying to do is find out where these plants went out there. And then if we start seeing symptoms, or these sites could also be potentially sites that we could over time monitor the sites to see, hey, we've had these plants brought in, we know this is a site a plant was planted, and we can follow that site, and hopefully nothing develops. But if it does, those are the places that we want to focus in on.
The one thing that I wish to stress is, oftentimes when you have a diseased forest, it takes a long time to happen. This could be very serious.
This could be very, very serious. And in addition to going and reporting that, if you want to be precautious, especially like me, I lived right on the edge of the woods with oak trees growing there. If you want to take the precautions, what the Department of Agriculture is recommending is that you destroy your plant. And probably the best method that they recommend,
plants that you acquired from the nursery,
the ones that you acquired during that time frame, from Walmart or Rural King, if it's a rhododendron,
Right.
if it's one of these plants, and again, we can help you decide if it's one of those plants, they recommend you dig the plant up, put it in a heavy-duty trash bag, double bag it, and make sure it gets to a sanitary landfill. So it's not too difficult to do.
Right.
We also recommend that if you're digging this plant up, there is a possibility you could spread it with your shovel, so you should sterilize that shovel with a 10% bleach solution. So just take some Clorox, mix up in a bucket, 1 part bleach to 9 parts water, let your shovel set in there overnight, and that'll help you prevent that from spreading. But again, it's something we don't want to set out unnecessary alarm bells, but it's a quarantine disease. We're trying to keep this contained, and we're hoping it won't happen. We don't think it'll happen, but it's not worth taking that risk. Kind of like washing your hands.
Yeah.
You know, it's not likely you're going to spread a disease, but why not use a hand sanitizer to take the precaution?
You're absolutely correct. So if you acquired a oak plant from Rural King or Walmart from March 1st,
to June 1st, I'm sorry. And a little correction, they weren't oak plants, they were rhododendrons or lilacs that carried the disease.
Okay.
So again, March 1st to June 1st, if you bought a rhododendron or a lilac during that time frame from Rural King or Walmart, give us a call and we can confirm what varieties of those plants it could possibly be, and then we highly recommend you report and dispose of that plant properly.
Very good. Thank you, Dave.
You're quite welcome. Thank you, Pat.
Hey, welcome back to another short clip in which Dave Apsley is going to talk a little bit about some of the upcoming programs, A Day in the Woods for Woodland owners, and also another program. So, Dave, welcome, and what's going to be happening?
So, it's hard to believe we're into August already, but we've got a few more programs for this month. We've actually got one tomorrow night that it's, by the time this airs, it'll probably be a little late, but we've got a couple programs in the latter part of August and then early September that I want to highlight and feature. 2 of them are related to timber harvesting, and the first one's going to be August 29th. It's actually going to be up in Ross County, and it's going to be about marketing and selling timber. That program will start at 6:30. It's at the Ross County Service Center, and there's a $15 charge for that program. We've got a couple folks from DNR Division of Forestry. Mark Rickey, the service forester who covers Ross County, will be there, and also Bob Mulligan, who's our BMP or soil specialist when it relates to timber harvesting. So we're going to give folks an overview of, if you're thinking about harvesting timber, here are some resources, here's what we recommend the process, and we don't recommend jumping into that without doing some homework.
Well, that's what I was thinking. You know, if I had an acre or so of woodlands and I just wanted to get rid of it, just contact someone.
Well, we're hoping you don't want to get rid of your acre of woodlands. Mainly we're talking about people that probably have larger tracts than an acre, and a lot of people do want to harvest some timber to get some income or maybe improve their wildlife habitat. So there's a way you can do it if you get the help where you can get some income from it and you can improve your woods. And so we're just going to walk you through the process of who's out there to help you, what questions to ask, how do you go about doing it. And then along those lines, on the 13th of September, we have a Day in the Woods program focusing on the same topic. So there'll be some overlap between those programs, but the big difference on the 13th, we're actually going to be at Zaleski State Forest. We're going to have an all-day program. We're going to bring in 6 or 8 professionals from the consulting foresters who can help you and represent you through the process, to folks on the state forest who do harvesting and talk about how they do it. And the neat thing is we're actually going to take folks to an active timber harvest so you can see the equipment and how they go about harvesting, and we'll take you to a harvest that happened a few years ago to see what it looks like if you do it right and how it can look. So we're going to give folks that experience so that they don't jump into that decision, because it's something, if you do it right, can help improve your woods and give you some benefits. If you do it wrong, it's hard to recover from. You can have all kinds of problems. So we're trying to avoid that, and that's kind of the focus of both those programs.
So that's August 9th.
August 29th up in
29th.
Ross County.
Ross County.
At the Service Center, and then September 13th down at Zaleski State Forest in Vinton County.
Oh, very good.
And then a couple other things to feature. In September, the next day, the 14th, we're having a family day in the woods. That's at the Vinton Furnace State Forest. Normally our program is kind of designed for adults and woodland owners and people interested in the woods, but this day it's basically from kids from newborns to 99 years old, so you qualify, Pat. You can come, I can be there. And what we're going to do is cover all kinds of topics. We're going to have wildlife specialists, we're going to have foresters, forest ecologists, people from a bunch of partners, including, I don't even want to start down the list, but we got all the partners that help us with a day in the woods. We're going to have lots of kids activities, and you can come for the whole day or you can come for part of the day. So again, we're at the end, we'll give you the link on how to find the information on all these Day in the Woods programs. So that's a big one.
September 14th.
September 14th. Actually, Jamie Dahl is the lead on that program, and we'll have lots of good information coming out on that soon.
All right.
And then to wrap up the year, we got two more programs. One in October on the 11th called Woodland Wildlife Research. And we're actually going to bring the researchers in who've been doing work at the Vinton Furnace. Everything from songbird research to rattlesnake research to some of the research we're doing to try to regenerate oak. So we're just going to highlight and visit some of these research sites, talk about some of the things we've learned and found out over the past few years. Should be a neat day. Again, an all-day Day in the Woods program, October 11th at the Vinton Furnace State Forest, Woodland Wildlife Research. And then, it's hard to believe we'll be wrapping up our 8th year in November. On November 8th, we're going to do a program called Winter Tree ID. So by November 8th, we'll probably lose most of our leaves of our trees. We're going to talk about how to identify trees in winter. So as foresters, we need to be able to figure out what trees are all year round. And a lot of times the leaves are gone. So we'll talk about those things like buds and bark and what you can find on the ground, so that during those winter months you can know what trees are out there in the woods.
You had a similar show in which you touched upon that previously on Tree Talk, and I think when you get out into the forest and the woodlands, I think it's very important for individuals not only that live near forests, but also individuals that live in the city.
Right. We're blessed in Southeast Ohio. We've got a huge diversity of trees, and for me there's enjoyment just knowing what's out there. If you're a hunter or wildlife enthusiast, you just like to watch wildlife, knowing what species of tree are out there, which ones might provide food or habitat for different wildlife. If you're managing your forest and you're thinking about doing a harvest, which trees might make sense to keep or which trees are ready to remove. But having that diversity out there is really neat, and part of being a woodland owner, and if you want to make decisions on how to improve it, you kind of got to know what you've got out there. So step one is to identify the trees out there. So we'll bring in specialists mainly from DNR, from Hocking College and other partners to help with that. So there'll be an indoor component with a PowerPoint and some twigs and samples to learn from, and then we'll spend a big part of the day out just looking at trees and pointing out the different species that we're blessed to have down here in Southeast Ohio.
Yeah, I really like the Day in the Woods series. Not only that, but you have a variety of different partners that are tremendous when it comes to sharing information on a much larger basis. So
the partners are what really make Day in the Woods. We help coordinate it through Ohio State, but Day in the Woods would not exist without all the partners. We actually started in 2012, and our partner list keeps growing. It mostly takes place at state forest property, the Vinton Furnace, and other state forests. So obviously the Division of Forestry and ODNR, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, is a big partner, but we also have the Forest Service, Department of Ag, and the list goes on. I hate to even start down the list, but depending on the program, we bring in resource people from all these partners. We've got financial supporters like the Ohio Tree Farm Committee that helps support us. We've got partners in the industry, Pixel, which used to be Gladfelder Mead Paper up in Chillicothe. They provide some support with our brochures and printing. So we got lots of partners, and I should definitely mention our partner that's usually on the show with us, Central State University, Jamie Dahl. We all work together to bring this programming and to reach people who have woodlands and who are interested in woodlands in Southeast Ohio.
Well, again, that's a day in the woods. Dave, how can individuals get in contact with you?
Probably the best thing is through the website that you're going to see on the bottom of the screen just popped up there. We post every program that we do there. So when we get about a month out on the programs, we'll do a post with all the details. If you go to that site, you can find information on how you can subscribe to that website, and then you'll get updates as we post. You can also email me at my email address is Apsley, APSLEY.1 at osu.edu, sorry, APSLEY.1 at osu.edu, and you'll find a brochure on the webpage too that can help you find me. But we'll gladly put you on a listserv and keep you up to date on the programs that are coming.
Sounds great. Sounds great. I know that you've made a tremendous mark on Southern Ohio with the forest, but more importantly, you have been part of that consortium of individuals that have made a great mark on our forest.
So what's exciting in Southern Ohio, we don't have a lot of resources. There aren't a lot of us in the forestry community. And so it makes sense to work together. And pretty much everything we do is through partnerships. We all bring different things to the table. We've all got different resources. So when we work together, we can reach a lot more people and have a bigger impact. And that's what we try to do.
And so individuals that attend any of the programs, let's see, August 29th, you have a Day in the Woods.
The August 29th is the one in Ross County at the Service Center. And then the September 13th is timber harvesting at Zaleski State Forest. September 14th is Family Day in the Woods at Vinton Furnace State Forest. October 11th is based on woodland research and wildlife research at the Vinton Furnace, and then we're wrapping up at Zaleski again with a tree ID on November 8th. Again, the brochure looks like this. You're going to find it online. You can download it with all the detail on how to register. Our Day in the Woods programs are $12, and the main thing we're doing is trying to cover our lunch costs. We have a wonderful caterer who does a nice job with our catering, and frankly, it's worth the $12 to just come and enjoy the lunch that you have. And to get to know people, get to know the natural resource professionals that work in Southeast Ohio, we commonly have 5 to 10 people at these programs who are specialists in wildlife or forestry who you can get to know, who can also support you in on your woodlands in other ways too. So appreciate the opportunity. And
well, thank you very much for coming in and sharing that. I'm Patrick Dangle with Dave Apsley. Dave Apsley is a natural resource specialist and also with the Ohio State University Extension Program. Thank you.
You're welcome, and be sure to take some time to spend a day in the woods.
Hey, welcome to another short video telecast in which we talk with Dave Apsley, Tree Talk, in which he wants to share some information about the 2019 Gwinn Conservation Area Farm Science Review.
Right. So every fall in September, Ohio State University hosts the Farm Science Review, and it's mainly a big agricultural show. It's agricultural equipment, ag technology. But we have an area north of I-70 where we have what we call the Gwinn Conservation Area. And so the Farm Science Review takes place at the Molly Carrion Ag Center, which is near London, Ohio. And the Gwinn Conservation Area is kind of a little satellite property there. And at the Gwinn, we focus on forestry and natural resource topics. So talk a bit about what's available there at the Gwinn. The show runs from the 17th through the 19th of September. And we have 5 different venues venues over at the Gwen. We've got one where it's more foraging and livestock and grazing. We've got a cabin area that has an indoor site where we can present on a number of topics. We have a wildlife and aquatics presentation area. We have a woodland presentation area, and then we're going to have an area where we're going to do chainsaw demos all 3 days. So just a few of the things you can learn at the Gwen. There's dozens of programs, but a couple I want to highlight is you can learn more about timber harvesting. You can learn about chainsaw demos and safety, and we've got topics, everything you can imagine, from invasive plants to woodland wildlife and aquatics. But I want to mainly hone in on our chainsaw safety. Each day at the Gwen, starting at 11 a.m., we're going to have a chainsaw maintenance session where we're going to bring in experts from Division of Forestry and Hocking College to help us talk about chainsaws. How do you use them safely? How do you maintain them? How do you get them to start? Things like, you get into starting a chainsaw that's been sitting all winter and you can't get it to start. And what are some of the things you can do maintenance-wise to prevent that problem? But probably most importantly, in the afternoon each day, right after lunch, we're going to do a demo. We're going to have folks that are going to gear up and show you how to safely cut a tree, how to safely cut up firewood and things like that. So it's real important. Chainsaws are tools that most of us have if we own a woodland, but not many of us know how to do it safely. What equipment should you wear? Chainsaw chaps, hard hat.
Dave, I had originally been under the belief that Farm Science Review was only for those in the agricultural industry or those that lived in very rural areas. But really, when you come right down to it, this should be something that many individuals, whether they live in the rural or in the city population, should at least come to one day.
I think it's important. I think more and more as time passes, people are losing touch with their heritage. Not many people grew up on a farm or around farms like I did. In these newer generations, my kids didn't spend the time on the farms that I did growing up, and I think it's important to reconnect to the land and find out where your food comes from and why our forests in Ohio are important, and where some of these areas you can go visit and recreate. So spending a day at the Gwen, you'll learn a lot. You're going to see some neat equipment, some new technology, lots of booths. Our partners at Division of Forestry, Division of Wildlife have a building where they have lots of displays, lots of programs. If you like good food too, there's lots of clubs there that OSU clubs that are going to have, there's a beef vendor that has in one of the clubs that is going to provide good food there. So good opportunity to spend some time. It's kind of a fair-like atmosphere, but a great
expensive? Is it expensive to get in?
Actually, you can get tickets pre-sale at your local extension office for $7, and at the gate it's $10.
Huh. Very nominal. Dave, thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.